Hier ist die neue Folge der Ökonomie-Videos.
Welcome to The Explainer. We're here to take really complex topics and, well, break them down into something clear and engaging. So today we're going to tackle a question that on the surface seems incredibly simple, almost like something a kid would ask. But this question has sparked a huge philosophical war, one that's been raging for centuries and, honestly, still defines our world today. And that question is, what exactly is money? You know, the famous economist John Hicks tried to cut through all the noise with this simple, functional definition. But that elegant phrase, it actually hides a deep, really fascinating conflict over the very soul of money. I mean, is it a real thing? Or is it just an idea that we all kind of agree on? So to get a handle on this great debate, here's what we're going to do. We'll start with the core conflict, then explore the two main camps. After that, we'll see how this whole battle is playing out right now, and we'll finish up by looking at what it all means for the future. All right, let's jump right in. When you really get down to it, the entire history of how we think about money pretty much boils down to two completely opposite answers to that one simple question we started with. On one side, you've got Team Commodity. You might also hear them called the metalists. Their whole argument is that true money has to be a physical, valuable thing. Think gold, something that just naturally evolved from people trading. Then, on the other side, you've got Team State, the nominalists. And they say, no, money is a social invention. It's a tool created by governments to organize the economy. It's really a battle between a thing and an idea. Let's start with Team Commodity. The metalist argument is pretty straightforward. For money to actually be trusted, it has to have its own value, right? Intrinsic value. It can't just be a promise. It has to be something real. And you can see why they'd think this way, because this view was really hammered home by history. I mean, imagine being someone like Nicholas Osmius back in the 14th century. He's living through the 100 Years' War, and he's watching kings and princes just cheat their own people. Over and over again. They debased the currency to pay for their wars. And he came to this really radical conclusion for the time. Money doesn't belong to the ruler. It belongs to the community. And its value has to be protected from political meddling. And this is a perfect example of what Oresmius was so afraid of. A ruler could just recall all the gold coins, melt them down, mix in some cheaper metals like copper, and then remint them as if they had the same value. The ruler gets rich, sure. But the people, they're left holding worthless money. And that, of course, leads to inflation and a complete collapse of trust. Flash forward a few centuries, and you get economists from the Austrian school building on this idea. They argued that this is exactly why precious metals like gold and silver naturally became money all across the world. They just have the best physical properties for the job. They're scarce, they last, you can carry them, you can divide them up, and each unit is the same as the next. The market, not the state, chose them. For a lot of people in this camp, money is ultimately just a veil over the real economy. As John Stuart Mill put it, money itself is insignificant. Think of it like a ticket, a claim check, for the real things that actually matter, goods and services. The key, though, is that the ticket itself needs to be trustworthy. Okay, let's flip over to the other side of the debate. Camp 2 argues that all this focus on metal is a total distraction. Money, they say, isn't about physical properties at all. It's about the power of the law. This is the core of their idea, known as nominalism, or more specifically, chartalism, from the German economist George Friedrich Knapp. He argued that money is a creature of the law. Its value doesn't come from gold, it comes from the state declaring, "This is our money and you can use it to pay your taxes." Now, Knapp's statement here, it sounds simple, but it is revolutionary. He's arguing that money is whatever the state says it is, period. It's a token, an instrument whose value is guaranteed not by metal, but by the authority of the state that issues it. And this thinking leads us straight to the concept of fiat money. The word comes from the Latin for "let it be done." It is money that exists by pure government decree. It's not created from a mind, it's created from a command. Look, this is not some dusty, old historical debate. This philosophical clash between commodity and state is the central drama of our entire modern financial system. It's happening right now. For most of modern history, the world ran on the metalist view, with currencies tied to gold. But that all came to a screeching halt in 1971, when the U.S. severed the dollar's last link to gold. Since then, we've lived almost entirely in a nominalist or fiat world. So you'd think Team State won, right? Well, or did they?
What really happened is the battlefield just shifted. Now the big fight is over how new money gets created. Is it exogenous, created from the outside by a central bank carefully managing the supply? That's kind of a modern echo of the metalist view. Or is it endogenous, created from within the system every single time a private bank issues a loan? That view is much closer to the state-centric nominalists.
This table just lays it out so clearly. You can see how those ancient philosophies are alive and kicking today. The metalist DNA, you see it in things like gold and Bitcoin, is driven by a core fear of inflation. The nominalist view, which powers our central banks and ideas like MMT, is driven by a core fear of economic stagnation. It's the same debate, just with new names.
And speaking of Bitcoin, it is the ultimate 21st century expression of metalist thinking. Its supply is mathematically fixed and absolutely scarce. It is a direct rejection of the fiat system, aiming to create a form of money that no prince or central bank can ever debase.
So, if there's one thing you should take away from this, it's that this fundamental question remains completely unsettled. Our entire global financial system is built on one answer, the state theory, but it is constantly being challenged by the other. Ultimately, the entire debate comes down to this one big question. Is money a technology that should liberate individuals from the power of the state? Or is it an essential tool for the state to manage society and fight economic crises? How you answer that determines what you think money is and what you believe it should become. The battle between the commodity and the idea is far from over.